Good morning, Linda. So, as you can see, I found this lovely little place with these mushrooms in here this morning. So, it's like I think I'm going to need a camera stabilizer actually for these little places I get myself into. I'm tucked down here, sort of like hidden down here. Um, so this morning's walk well. How are you all this morning? So last week our walk well focus was on rhythm, tempo, pace, and personality. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that first. So how have you gone on with your matching your rhythm and your pace and your tempo and your personality? And it's interesting. One of the things I've noticed with my personality walk is I've been playing with sort of like, particularly in sort of characters of the dance, I've been bringing a little bit more bounce, but I've also noticed as I go out walking with Jess, there's, I think, I don't know whether that's for me or her first, but we've got this sort of like sway going on. So it's like, how can we bring this like a little bit more of a. So I've been changing and matching not just the pace and rhythm, but again, the personality. What is that walks? So, in terms of our focus today, as you can see, being around surrounded by nature, and I placed a post on there yesterday which said sort of there was a little droplet of rain, and how one drop is the same as one thought. And there's actually something that I wrote up at the studio that was there quite a while ago that I wrote when I was in my 20s. But having that sense of like every single drop counts, and one drop is the same as one thought. And have you watched the rain? It's like being grateful for the weather we've got. So there's no such thing as bad weather. It's just bad clothing. And there's no such thing as a miserable day. It's just how do you then view and perceive that in your life around you? And the same way in your thoughts, what is your thought? Every single drop of water counts, and every single thought counts. And you see those little droplets of like there was one droplet on that tree, and I was really drawn to take that photograph of it. And every single droplet, and it gathers and gathers, and it sort of then makes sort of streams, and then gathering and building into rivers, and how that's creating force, particularly at the moment when it's been raining for sort of like days and days, and that force of all that water rushing down and the waterfalls. And your thoughts are like that. It's sort of like every single thought, every single drop counts. And it's like as you sense that sort of like that's your neuro pathways in your brain. And I love transposing and having that sense of how nature is represented in we are nature, and how is that the same as us, similarity. We're not mechanical. We're not, our heart is not likened to a pump. Our heart is not a pump like as a mechanical thing. We don't liken our brain. There is some sort of similarities to how our brain is like a computer, but more like we're trying to mirror and make computers in similar to how we work, not the other way round. So we are way more complex than that of a computer. But if you look around in nature, it's how those streams and then make rivers and oceans. It's like those thoughts, those synapses in your brain, those neuro pathways, sort of you follow and you're strengthening those. They make another pathway and another pathway, and that's the same. And it's like you see them becoming great big rivers, and that is the like your brain pathways. It's like every single drop counts, every single thought counts, and as they create great big rivers and oceans, what is that you're creating for yourself in your thoughts, in your mind? And the other thing that I liken that to when I go out walking is the same as in um, when you see pathways, particularly, the old, really old trackways when they're in the cart tracks that are stone, and you see them in the grooves that they carve into those stones with those in the mining in the quarries, and where they go. And it's the same thing, our neuro pathways create these grooves and things. And that's why it's because we talk about a lot in terms is breaking habit. So otherwise you get stuck in those grooves, liken your mind to your landscape, and the thicker and deeper you create those grooves in the ground in your thought patterns, you'll become very fixed. And the older you get, you are actually basically a summary of what those grooves and neuro pathways, those tracks in your mind are. So always breaking habits, trying new things, walking new pathways. So can you walk new pathways rather than, take yourself off the known path that's a real metaphor for life. Take yourself off the known path, whether that's in reality, do that, and you'll find it creates new neural pathways. If you track in terms of mindfulness, track when you're out walking, or if you're driving a car even, track your thoughts. And often what you'll find is that things that you see around you as you're driving and walking can sometimes trigger the same thought pattern. So you can then end up like on this repeated journey all the time, this repeated thought pattern. So if you then take new drive somewhere new, walk somewhere new, it will stimulate sort of a new sort of like new thoughts, new neural pathways. Try something new and break habits. So that's your thoughts for today, literally. So your thoughts for today. So little droplets of water. Every thought counts. Every droplet of water counts. And think of those streams and those neuro pathways that you're creating, that ocean in your mind, and also those tracks and the pathways that you walk and that you take yourself on. So try new walks, explore, take yourself off the known path. Get sort of like, a map out as well. As you know, sort of me and Jess have done our bronze navigation. I'm now looking at doing my Fella Moorland leader thing, so I can take you much more out and about and things when we can get back together. But I'm just reading there what Linda has put. So yes, that Pumpkin and I have definitely been more tuned into walking in rhythm, listening to sounds rather than me talking away. Yes, it's a lovely thing, really being present. Also found some new paths. Don't eat magic mushrooms. I love the spot where you're at, stunning, and some beautiful sounds. I know the birds, I mean, we're so lucky around here. Out here now, and there's so many birds going this morning. I can hear them first thing in the morning out my window. But it's really good to hear, Linda, that you've been out taking new paths and quietening down. I thought, for me personally, I've always thought, humans are really noisy as a species. It's like, when you hear that, and in lockdown, that was a moment, the first lockdown, where the traffic went really, really quiet and the silence was just beautiful, because there's always this background sound, but quieting down, talking less, and like being really present, because you can communicate in a non-verbal way. So that thing being patient and be really present is a really lovely thing to share with somebody, that when you're walking, being really present and having a non-verbal communication. There's some lovely things in terms of dancing in the past. I've done that with dancing and having, hours and hours and days of non-verbal communication. It's lovely. But thank you very much. Enjoy your day. I hope you've enjoyed these mushrooms that I've found up here. Are just absolutely gorgeous. There's so many of them. They're all around. They're in front of me as well. Have a look around. You can find these ones here. And some birds just flying overhead there, some crows. Lovely. So enjoy your day, and I shall see you all soon. Bye.